Welcome, everyone, to another edition of the Wrestling Underground podcast. I am your host, as always, Chad Porto, and joining me is the glorious one himself, Marcus Green. How are you? I think we're waiting on Marcus. We may have started the show too prematurely. So, while we wait for Marcus, who is back,
I've arrived. I'm good.
he
Sorry,
has
had
arrived.
to check, make sure with nobody coming after me with a chair or trying to bite me, stuff like that. So
So, so this was a weird weekend. Apparently, New Japan had one of its best shows of the year. Haven't seen it, so I can't confirm. Um, WB had two shows that were largely more of the same. I really don't know what fans are looking at when they're like, "Oh my God, the Triple H are so good." Is it because Braun Strowman has pierced nipples now? Like, what is it that people like about what they're watching that's so much better than what they were getting before? I don't get it. Clash at the Castle was a thing, and then when Worlds Collide was mostly terrible, except for the main event, which was pretty good. Bronson Steiner, or whatever dumbass Braun Breckerbracker, is he's pretty good. Needs a new name. That Brickerbracker name terrible. All kinds of bad. AEW had a show this weekend. I watched the first hour before I realized that it was like a 5 hour show, and then I was like, I'm good. So I hopped off that, only to find out that the real action came when the cameras were off. Marcus, big old story, and we're going to get into our 10 favorite bad pay per views or shows, I should say, in wrestling history. But I do want to take a moment and just kind of preface this by saying there's never a good reason to turn words into violence. So if you roll up on someone looking for violence and you get violence back, I I'm supposed to think that you're the victim in this? I don't know. How about the bots that you roll into someone else's locker room looking for a fight and you get one? That's on you. I've been saying it since the damn promotion launched that having guys like Kenny Omega who ran a like let's be honest, like the guys running this company aren't in AEW because they're immaculate individuals. They're there because they burned all their other bridges. They burned the bridges in Ring of Honor when it was independently owned. They burned their bridges in New Japan. Kenny still has some decent clout with Impact, but the Young Bucks spent a decade shitting on Impact. The WWE didn't want the Bucks. They wanted Kenny to a point, but I don't know if they were willing to pay him for what he was offering, and more than likely he's going to end up in NXT anyway. So I don't know. These guys don't really have the best reputations, but fans love them. And this is the thing that I fucking hate about wrestling, Marcus, and mostly about fandoms in general. If you like somebody, they're no longer problematic. But Kenny quite literally went head to head with guys in New Japan and was very unpopular. The Young Bucks very unpopular. But in AEW they cultivated the roster to be of guys they like. And now all of a sudden there's a problem. And we go back to Cody Rhodes' whole, I hired my friends, I believe in nepotism. Obviously this is a big thing. And now, Cody had a falling out with them last year and he left. You got a lot of guys unhappy with the way they're being treated. I have to imagine some of that has to do with the EVPs. And now the EVPs are showing up places looking for a fight. I don't know, man. This is a whole bunch of nonsense. I'm hoping it's all work. It'd be the greatest work in the history of works. But at the same time, I don't think it is. And I feel like watching this all unfold, we see now that there is truly a leadership issue in this AEW company. Partly it's on Tony Khan. Apparently, people are going to be suspended from this, which I think is the right call. Even though I'm very much on Team Punk, and I'm not a CM Punk guy, but I'm very much on Team Punk on this one. I feel like when you have EVPs leaking information to news outlets, purposely making people look bad, I feel like, a lot of the animosity is justified. And if people are upset that CM Punk's calling out bad behavior, then I don't know what the fuck's going on in this company. The Young Bucks should not be spilling garbage into the media scrums, and more specifically, shouldn't be making shit up. And the fact that Colt Cabana is getting dragged like this, like, Colt Cabana is a prick. He's one of the most unlikable human beings in the history of human beings. But everybody likes him because he has this, this affable personality. But he's really not a nice guy. He's a kind of a dick. And it's why he never really settled anywhere, because nobody wanted to work with him for that long. So seeing all these guys kind of, like circle the wagons, and then seeing Cabana get dunked on like he's a rim, and it's 2009 Dwight Howard coming in for the All-Star game is fucking hilarious. So I don't know. I'm watching Rome burn, and I'm Italian, so like I'm not happy about watching Rome burn. But I'm watching Rome burn from the mountains, and I'm fine. Because at the end of the day, I'm just gonna be like, yep, this is fine. And let's be honest, it's not like this is even the worst thing that's happened in pro wrestling history by a mile. Like, we have 600 events to get through before we ever get to anything with AEW and a backstage fight. At worst, this is hilarious. At best, this is a storyline. This is the biggest nothing burger in the history of nothing burgers. 3 dudes rolled up on 2 dudes and got their asses kicked. And now they're like, oh, they're going to fire CM Punk? No, they're not going to fire CM Punk. Executive vice presidents went looking for a fight. If anyone's getting fired, it's Omega and the Bucks. Because I'm sitting there going, listen, the 3 of you shit cans are going out of your way to cause conflict, and you're supposed to be the fuckers ending conflict. Are you stupid? If I'm Tony Khan, I'm going rip, rip, rip. Because, like, what's going to get Kenny Omega going to do? Go back to New Japan? He can't fucking work in New Japan anymore. That style would kill him. He's just shell of himself. And, like, he's not charismatic enough to go to the WWE. And, like, what is he going to do? Hang around in NXT and get beat up by Braun Breaker? Like, come on. Kenny's fucking washed, man. And he's not even someone that you want to rely on anymore. And then you got the Bucks, whose hairline is almost as receding as their skill set. Ugh.
Receding.
From receding California.
Like that, the show.
So
that's the time.
I don't know, Marcus. Like, I feel like if I because like I run several websites, which is what I do. If I started doing like, hey, my one writer's a giant cunt, and here's why, and I start leaking all the information, and then he goes, I can't believe my boss is running his mouth about me. And then I go, did you talk about me in a negative light? I'm going to fight you. I get fired.
It is a complete and utter shit show. And the first L was a 5-hour wrestling show.
Yeah.
Comprised of matches. That alone put it behind the other 2 shows of the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Which I gotta say I enjoyed far more than I just like. There was no narrative in which I was gonna sit down and watch that show, because I'm like, why does this have 20 matches or 15 matches on it?
Something like that, counting the pre-show or whatever it was called. Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Most of those matches didn't even need to be on that show. Good stuff on the show. But really, I mean, no, that's ridiculous. But yeah, this is a complete and utter shit show, and I'm right there with you. I am not a CM Punk guy, but you can't really go at the guy. I mean, look, it's the great thing is this is one big asshole stew. This whole thing.
Oh yeah.
That's really all it is. Punk sat up there, and for all the truth bombs that he was dropping, he very much came off like a prick. You would like to think that the stuff about the supposed EVPs wouldn't be true, but there's too much information that becomes readily available across the industry in general.
Can I interrupt real fast? Because I have a point I want to make.
No, do your thing, man.
I knew in 2011 that the Young Bucks were leaking information to Dave Meltzer. I know that for a fact. And I want to be very clear here. I don't believe that Dave Meltzer praises the Young Bucks as much as he does because they leak info to the Observer. I believe they leak information to the Observer because Dave Meltzer is such a fan. So I truly do believe that Meltzer is unbiased in his views on the Bucks, but the Bucks do favor the Observer for a reason. So I know this for a fact. Like I've talked to somebody who's like, yeah, the Bucks leak info all the time, and this is like at the tail end of their Impact run. So I'm supposed to now believe 11 years later that they're not doing that shit anymore? They haven't grown up. These dudes were born again Christians who were using, I don't want to say slurs because I don't remember exactly what they were using, but they were using derogatory language on fans on Twitter. Like, these dudes are supposed to be, brothers in Christ, and they're calling people fuckheads. It's like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Being a Christian means you shouldn't be a bully, and they're definitely bullying people. So, like, the narrative on the Bucks is changed dramatically because they're good workers, but they're shit human beings, and they always have been. I got into it with them personally fucking 13 years ago. God, I'm fucking old. So like I know firsthand that these are not nice people, and the more money they get, the more douchebaggery they get. So I know for a fact they leak.
Yeah, it's interesting that they I was watching a couple people talk about it because obviously everybody and their mom's gonna jump on this. But they was right. It was somebody brought up something there, like for all the scuttlebutt that happened around the whole Cody jumping ship thing, and how it would never happen. And obviously we see what where it is now. It's like I really feel like for as much crap as we give him and giving him, and rightfully so with some of the stuff that he's done, I think he saw the iceberg coming, and he got him a flotilla and got out of Dodge.
Yup.
Because it's like, because you said it the minute that stuff was going down. It's like this not gonna finish well. Like you basically Papa Queen Oliver that night the Queen's Gambit went down when he caught him with Sarah. It was like, son, it's not gonna finish well. And this is all coming out. I mean, the person that ultimately is like I said, this is a shit stew all around. But the person that looks the worst in all this is Khan.
You're not wrong.
Because faces he was sitting up there making as Punk was basically making him look like almost somebody that he hired to just run the company while he actually ran the company.
The Cheney to his Bush, so to speak.
Yeah. It was like at one point. At a point, he just gave up. He was like, "This fucking train is derailed," and all I could do was sit here and come a wino about it. Yeah, it didn't. They just got to. Like, I don't want them to have to suffer through sitting through Punk and Khan for almost 10 minutes, but this had to be watched to be believed. And then he went off about some stuff with WWE, and it's like WWE has never played nice with anybody worth a damn. They've always cut people off at the knees. Whether it's stuff with talent contracts and dates, cutting people off from doing shows and whatnot. And I'm like, it's ironic that he's almost kind of like the pot calling the kettle black with bitching about what WWE's kind of done, I guess, to cut him off with promotion and talent and booking shows when they got shows. It's like, maybe if you would have treated Impact a little better, you wouldn't have got this karma.
Right? And that was something that Jitsu pointed out. And like when I saw that, Marcus, I was like, oh damn, that's right.
Not so fun when a rabbit got the gun. Now you feel like a redheaded stepchild, and you want to come over and play No Mercy, and they like, no, we got all we need. So it's just one of them things. Like I said, this is a crap show. The best thing that comes out of this is that so many of those staunch AEW fans with their head up the company's ass that it could do no wrong have no choice. Have no choice but this for what it is. And the people that still calling it a work, I'm like, have you just started watching CM Punk? Did you see him up there? Like he looked like a man coming out of a like on the tail end of getting a divorce finalized. He's like that's what he sounded like. That's what he looked and sounded like. Um, but yeah, it was just it needed to happen. Ultimately, it needed to happen.
That I agree with. I feel like this was a pimple that needed to be burst. Like this was an infected sac that needed to be excised. Because now that it's out there, there's only one path forward. We know that there has to be resolution. We know that there has to be punishment, and we know that there has to be some type of settling of the issue. And that wasn't going to happen before because the Bucks are notoriously very staunched in their doggedness, and Kenny Omega is not someone who moves off a point. Neither is Punk for that matter, or Ace Steel. Hell, Ace Steel is so set in his ways, he'll throw a chair at you just for suggesting a change of opinion. God, I love Ace Steel. Fuck Nick Jackson. Personally, I think Nick Jackson and Matt Jackson are just terrible people. So anytime Ace Steel can get away with something, I love it.
Oh, second gift.
Oh,
Speaking of perfect
what do we got here?
courtesy of a fighter that's often crapped on much by his own doing, but I think this was the perfect. I'm like, I don't know how they ever made this guy a commentator.
Oh, jeez. Come on, load faster. All right, here we go. Finally. Twitter, you slow moving douche. Oh, jeez.
He got cooked.
Adrian, you didn't go down like that, huh?
He got cooked.
I mean, he did.
He
did
got
get cooked.
cooked. He got cooked. It's a lag because you also saw like a security guard running in the background of that video,
Yep, I saw that.
and then when they had the scrum with Khan and Jericho, immediately Jericho was like, "Yo, man, so everything backstage is burning. We need to go."
Moxley's just sitting at the press conference, or Danielson's just in the press conference. Everything's burning around him. He's smiling. This is fine. This is
Just
fine.
the whole Blackpool club is just sitting there eating some crackers or something.
But like,
Ah,
this isn't new though, and not even just for Punk. Like William Regal shot the hell on the entire roster, right? Like this is the environment that has been allowed to develop. Now Tony needs to kind of lead by example here, and really shut some of this shit down. But again, I want to stress this: in the grand scheme of wrestling, this doesn't rank. Teddy Hart. And who was it? AJ Styles or CM Punk? Oh, Jesus. It's always CM Punk. Got into a fist fight at a diner a mile and a half down from the Nashville, Tennessee fairgrounds in like 2003. Like, do you know how many wrestlers have overdosed in the back of the locker room only to wrestle 2 hours later? Marcus, in the grand scheme of things, this don't matter. Motherfuckers have been killed in the locker room. Before
yeah.
show.
I mean, if you think we're lying, just go back and check out. Was it the first season or the second season of Dark Side of the Ring?
Probably
It would just go to Google and type in the life and crimes of New Jack. You don't even need to watch the full season. Just go type in the life and crimes of New Jack, and yeah, stuff like that was allowed to happen, and happen like that on smaller scales in different companies and whatnot and what have you. But yeah, like you said, this don't rank, but
It does need to change though.
it does need to change. It did need to happen because so much of it kills so much of the disillusionment around the company, and around because it's it's the ultimate it's the Valhalla for forgotten, misused and abused WWE performers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for them to go there and thrive, like okay, and then like you said with Khan, it's all on him because you got to lead by example. That the head of the team dictates the pace. And it feels like some of that respect isn't necessarily where it should be with this stuff going on the way that it is, and with Punk. And I don't necessarily know him. I mean, he might have sat next to Vince and pulled that. I don't know if Vince would have sat there that whole time and took it like that. Because those egos are massive. But yeah, man. I mean, he got to do something. He definitely got to, pin all the tails on the donkey, if you will, because didn't he just suspend Eddie Kingston for mushing Guevara?
Yep.
If that, if he did that, because we know Kingston about that life.
Oh yeah.
If you heard one of his promos, which is funny now that back and forth promo between him and Punk is dancing around the internet constantly with him telling like nobody in that back likes you. We don't want you here. We never thought it was a good idea that you're here. You're a piece of garbage, and I think like I said, it don't look good, but so many truths are said. I do think it's probably a lot of people in that locker room that didn't want him there, but they couldn't deny the business. I think Khan could have cut a lot of this off at the knees, but being friends with the guys, being new to this, even with all the money that he has, and not wanting to stir too many unnecessary pots. But it's like, look, man, you the guy. You got to set a different pace. Because these guys really do think, that level of freedom kind of take that a little too far because they have been so restricted in other places. But you got to reel some of these guys in because this is not celebration station for wrestlers.
No.
You got to hone this stuff in. So I think, like I said, it was necessary. The fall off from this is gonna be epic.
Yeah.
To watch anyway. But yeah, like I said, it needed to happen. Certainly doesn't take any of the cake with anything that we've seen over as long as we've been watching wrestling, but it does keep things interesting with so much wrestling on the table at this point.
Marcus, you and I have an affinity for our late night soaps,
Yeah,
so I'm all about this. I'm sitting here with the popcorn like the New Day, just like shoving it in my mouth.
exactly.
But when it comes to this, especially specifically with Kingston, he hates everyone. He hates Cesaro. He hates Bryan Danielson. So it's like his comments on CM Punk really don't hold that much weight. Because if I were to ask him, Kingston, who do you hate the most? He'd probably say himself. And like, when you think about that, like I think a lot of this has to do with jealousy, and Punk's never been and like this is the weird misconception. No one ever thought Punk was some Dudley Do-Right. He's a punk. It's in his fucking name. What do you think a punk is, people? They get in your face. They're brash. They're braggadocious. They're hard to deal with. He calls himself that, and people are shocked that this dude who's all about the DIY culture is doing DIY stuff, and they're like, "Oh, I'm so shocked." That's like saying, "Oh, Stone Cold got drunk and smacked his wife around." I'm shocked. He drinks so much. I didn't think it was possible. Oh, The Rock, the dude who sings, dances, and prances around like a pony, is going out to Hollywood. I'm shocked. Are you telling me that the man who stood in the ring and made people literally kiss his ass on national television is a sexual deviant? I'm shocked. Sometimes people need to stop being shocked because they will show you who they are. Like, anytime someone has an uber sexual gimmick, I know they're about to be Me Too'd. I know it. Joey Ryan, Me Too'd. It's gonna happen. So yeah, I'm a little shocked that people are shocked that Punk is cantankerous.
But it speaks to that willful ignorance too, man. You want to like something so bad you just ignore all the stuff around it. We haven't been too long come off that whole situation, and kudos to because I got to get caught up on Impact post emergence. Great show, by the way. Go check it out if you haven't. Mike Bennett tweeting out, he was like, every heel's not worth dying on, people.
Yup.
like what I've been saying. Like some stuff you just don't necessarily need to get out, man. And we haven't been too long, come off talking about that whole Jordan Grace thing with the Benoit situation.
Yeah.
that pointed out a lot of peculiar points on multiple sides about fans, wrestlers' perceptions and stuff about really a cut and dry situation. Um, but
So we're gonna
yeah,
put a pin in that real fast.
yeah.
We have some more information. According to Fightful Select, the reason why this went off the way it did was because the Bucks kicked down the door to CM Punk's locker room after they started banging on the door and he didn't respond. So Punk was literally trying to defuse the situation by not engaging in it. So Punk and Ace Steel and Ace Steel's wife are in the locker room. The Bucks
Oh
kicked
wow.
the door open, and apparently, kind of the way it's framed is that the door almost hit Ace Steel's wife, and that's why Steel threw the chair, and then he started biting Kenny Omega. That's the best part about all this. Like, fuck Nick Jackson's eye. Fuck it. Him biting Kenny Omega and yanking out his hair is the funniest shit ever. So
Yeah,
this
that
again compounds my belief in CM Punk and Ace Steel did nothing wrong.
it's just, yeah, it's funny, man. Like Khan is proposed for somebody that is supposed to be as proposed of a good guy as Khan or decent of a guy as Khan is. He sure works with a lot of a-holes. Punk, MJF, like you said,
Guevara.
King Guevara, the Bucks, maybe Omega to some extent, because
You
you
are
got
the
to have
company you keep, you know. Like if you hang out with guys like Kota Ibushi and the Bucks who are constantly causing problems, that says something.
exactly, and I'm sure several others in there, but
Thunder
yeah, if they
Rosa, Britt Baker,
oh wow,
Bobby
Thunderbolt.
Fish.
Oh wow. Okay, I didn't know that.
Apparently, Thunder Rosa is getting some heat because of her behavior.
Mm,
I don't know. But like, here's the thing: like, so many egos are in this company, and no one's in here to check it. And this is what happens. And this is what happens when you bring in groups of people to run promotions. Like Cole, Baker, Omega, the Bucks, like those cats have like 20 people on their side. So of course they're like, oh yeah, the locker room has an issue with CM Punk. Of course they do, because they're all butt buddies. Maybe that's an inappropriate term these days. But the basic ideology is that all these dudes are intertwined with one another. So if you hurt one, they're like a beehive of bitchery. They're all gonna be like, "Oh, Mama, I can't believe you did this to my buddy," and I'll be like, "Fucking stand up and see what happens to you next." Oh, I got more chairs. It's fucking catering. I got all the chairs, bitches.
just come out that thing. I feel like he almost tried to hit him like Hardy hit Jeff. I mean Hardy hit Brock that one time.
Mm-hmm.
One of the coldest chair shots you'll ever see is when Brock was like first in the company and decimating the Hardy, and Jeff Hardy gave one of the sickest straight on chair shots ever. But yeah, um, it still took it back to ECW on the boys real quick. I can't blame him, specifically if his wife was in there.
Right?
Um, but that barging in thing is interesting because obviously Punk coming out the scrum, he was like, if you got a problem with me, you come see me. Which I guess the Bucks was like, well, where is he? Where is he?
Well, we
Come
have an invite now.
It is funny because somebody tweeted like, if Bucks had learned real quick, them super kicks don't work in a real fight, huh?
Your super kicks mean nothing against my steel chair.
Yeah, it's man, that is crazy. And with all the history, the fact that Jericho was in none of it. You could just I now just imagine like all the stuff happening, and Jericho's just walking back to his locker room, just humming. Oh man.
I have a different view of how that went down. So I believe that Jericho, when he heard about the fight, started looking around to see where it was going. And he was sprinting out in and out of locker rooms going, "Where is it? Where is it?" And he eventually popped through the door and ended up outside. And then he tried to get in, found out that it was locked. And it was just like Fall Brawl 98 all over again. And he couldn't get in. He was so thirsty to get to himself some action.
Oh man, that is That is hilarious. But yeah, the biggest thing of the week, the biggest thing on that show was supposed to be the return of one of the company's biggest a-holes in MJF, and that is the last thing anybody's talking about.
I think that's
So
mostly because MJF is an overrated piece of shit, but that's just me.
yeah, and I'm right there with you. But yeah, I don't know how fans be like, man, this is one of the best works ever. I'm like, did you see the level of venom he was spitting at Colt Cabana? And I ain't a fan of that dude either. But he was using his real name. He called his mom's name. Then he clowned him for having a bank account with his mom. Like I don't know what energy he was ready to give the Bucks on site, but if Cabana walked up in there, he would have got bitch smacked with one of the muffins he was eating on site.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how people thought he got off Cabana and then switched to work with how he talked about Hangman. Like I don't know what the landscape of the card looked like for these upcoming shows, but I don't think Punk gonna be working with Punk gonna be having uh we're having to have 5 minute classics with Sting the way this is leading up.
Yeah, I don't see Punk and Colt getting together for any holidays anytime soon. But the thing is, like, this is wrestling, man. Like,
Yeah.
I think people kind of forgot that with this Kumbaya, super progressive trans women champion, non-binary Sunny Kisses, that this is still pro wrestling. This is literally the makeup of pro wrestling. Kurt Angle and Jeff Jarrett literally got into a fist fight over Kurt's ex-wife. Are you like Macho Man and Hulk Hogan literally went to blows backstage numerous times? Like, I'm sitting here going like, why is anyone surprised, and why are y'all making such a big deal about it?
How many? I mean, that's a show we could do alone. Like how many male wrestlers we could have lost over women alone. Like Sonny Vagina could have put several men into the grave.
What do you mean could have? Yikes!
Just yo, man, like it's a real thing. Like
Mm-hmm.
specifically alone, like a lot of these relationships get taken personal. The reason why I said like Punk might end up having some random long stint matches with Sting because the way the heat that's on these situations now, like you can't trust it in the ring because it's gonna be a match full of receipts,
Mm-hmm.
and that's not good for anybody. So you can't really trust that. No, it's not like these guys haven't had to go out and wrestle guys they weren't cool with before, but this is on another level. When that level of professionalism, what I say, when the professionalism is thrown that far out the door on one of your biggest shows of the year, it's on site. Everybody got their own site mentality at this point, and that's not good. I don't know exactly how bad it got by the end of WCW, but
Yeah, it wasn't good. I mean, Scott Steiner was there, for Christ's sakes. All right, we are here to talk about the things we love about pro wrestling, namely bad pro wrestling. Speaking of AEW, I made it funny. So Marcus, we're talking our favorite bad events. Fun factoid: um, most of mine are from World Wrestling All Stars. The others are from WCW. I do have. Let's see. What was the other one? Gotta move that. I do have one from the Indies and one from WCW. No, I have four from WCW. Different eras, though. So I have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have 11. So I'm gonna do my honorable mention, and it's gonna be the honorable mention because we talked about it last week. Ironically, and that's December to Dismember. That show is ass, but there's something I love about it so much because I always look at it and I'm like, this could have been a good show. You just needed somebody who was creative enough to make it a good show. And that's where I come in. I've rebooked this show twice now, and they're on the website somewhere. So just go look up the December to Dismember rebookings, and I think the card came out pretty well. But I'm going to start with my first one. These are in no particular order. I'm going to go for the first 5 that I do, although I'm only going to do them one at a time. For the first 5, I'm going to go in chronological order. So that means my first one is going to be the World Wrestling All-Stars Inception pay-per-view, Marcus. I don't know if you've ever seen any of these shows.
No.
So basically, this was the progenitor to Impact. It was started by a guy, I think his name was like Ray McManus or something like that. And it was supposed to be a Pacific tour through New Zealand and Australia with predominantly ex-WCW guys. And the idea would be that they would sell pay-per-views while going on tour. So they'd do like one pay-per-view event for the American audience, and then they would tour New Zealand and Australia in chunks. Kind of like how New Japan usually does tours in 10 or 11 or 12 shows per tour, and then like they take 2 weeks off, and then they're back. So that was kind of the idea. So the first show featured a bunch of qualifying matches, quarterfinal matches, for the World Wrestling All-Stars inaugural heavyweight title. Here were the 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. Here were the 4 quarterfinal matches. You had Juventud Guerrero defeating Psychosis in a ladder match. You had Road Dogg Jesse James defeating Conan in a dog collar match. Get it? Because they're both dogs. Road Dogg and K-Dog. Yuck. Then you had the Open Invitational Battle Royal where Buff Bagwell won, last eliminating Disco Inferno. And then you had a guitar on a pole match with Nathan Jones. Yup, that Nathan Jones. Taking on Jeff Jarrett. Jeff Jarrett won. Rove McManus, by the way, is the guy I think who co-owned World Wrestling All-Stars. Then in the finals, or semifinals, instead of getting Juventud as expected, Road Dogg took on Lenny Lane and Lodi. And I forget why. I think Juventud got hurt. I think he got taken out backstage by Lenny Lane and Lodi. So Road Dogg defeated them in a handicap match. Oh, it was a 3-way match. Excuse me, I was incorrect. Then we had... Oh, Marcus, I'm sorry. I was incorrect. No, I was not. Juventud, in his ladder match with Psychosis, won the Cruiserweight title while also advancing in the tournament final. So he was taken out. That's right. I haven't seen this show in a few years, so I can't remember all the minor details. Road Dogg defeated Lenny Lane and Lodi. Jared defeated Bagwell. Gangrel defeated his actual wife, Luna Vachon, in a black wedding match. Then we had a 4-way skin-to-win match. Adra James defeated Sharon A. Wad, Queen Bey, and Violet Tarosi. It was a evening gown match. That's all it was. And then in the main event steel cage match, Jeff Jarrett defeated Road Dogg to win the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Other people on this card included Jeremy Borash, Crowbar, Mark Slick Johnson, Stevie Ray, Jerry Lawler, Norman Smiley, Disco Inferno. So, there you go. And Hoovy really did bust up his ankle, apparently. So, this is a bad show, but I love it. It's so good. And wait until we get to the others, because they're even worse. I can't wait, Marcus. I can't wait. What's your first bad show?
And I'm not gonna lie, I'm looking at this list of mine and WWE. Y'all getting cooked.
In a good way or a bad way?
I'm top, man. I get the fire extinguisher out now. Just gonna kick it off with the instantaneous crap shows that we all know. Let's kick it off with doggone Super Showdown. 2019.
Oh no.
You look at it. These shows are basically big ass pander events to Saudi Arabia. Big ass pander events to Saudi Arabia. And always in terms of continuing the company's global expansion, as well as I guess morally trying to bridge the gap of improvement and outlook and in terms of outlook on wrestling, and in particular women's wrestling, as we know how women are viewed and treated and regarded in that part of the world. So, but regardless, all that is WWE's excuse to put on these shows, make money, and put together a bunch of matches that ultimately don't mean nothing. So, like I said, it's a 2019 show. Uh, Pre-show match: Usos versus Revival. Anywhere else that might be a classic, not here. Not 17 minutes or 15 seconds. Seth Rollins versus Baron Corbin. I can hear Chad snoring already. Demon Finn Balor versus Andrade. I guess that was back when they was giving him a win. Roman